Bollywood.
Bollywood or Hollywood?
Bollywood.
Bollywood. Yes.
You have all the answers from Rana. Rana must be knowing everything about cricket in Bollywood. I guess so.
Yes.
So we had
Well, I'm just learning because, like I said, I just learned where Malaysia is. Wait a minute, let me go find out. Oh, there it is. Wait, no,
well,
how about
Hey,
that?
Andrew,
No,
while he's looking for Malaysia,
that's over there.
since we're having that wishful thinking thing, I have a request for you.
In Malaysia, where
And I
is
don't
it?
ask for much. I just want you to bring the cast. Hold on a second. I just want you to bring the cast of Have I Ever to the show. So that's all you have to do.
We'll bring anybody to the show, depending on what you
Just reach out to the cast of that new Indian miniseries on Netflix.
Oh, really? Okay.
so we actually had a really famous star from India on.
I saw that
Tuesday.
yesterday.
And then we had another one, a TV star from Hollywood,
Yeah.
Shia Luna. What TV
I
series?
saw Shia Luna is
Life of something.
she
Life
has
of a Dead
IMDb credentials.
So she does all these vampire type movies.
Oh, I know. I saw that. Amazing.
She's got a vampire TV show.
Age of the Living Dead movie is the series name. Age of the Living Dead, and they're coming up with series 2 on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So,
I
so it's
saw that. Pretty
really neat.
exciting
We've
news.
got just a little bit of advertising today. We've got Weed Wednesday, which is Jeff Icon, who is going to, his mission is to free all the people that are in prison for life for nonviolent crimes that we're dealing with.
Smoking marijuana and they throw people in prison for life. And it's
For
ridiculous.
life. And
Welcome
so
to
he
America.
has, I think, been responsible. I know for one, but he's, I think so far they've been able to release 2 out of
Oh, Lord.
the hundreds, but that's his mission. But he has a wonderful show, Weed Wednesday, of all the wonderful things you could do with marijuana. He has doctors on the show and everything. That starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then tonight we have Kevin Godey
Kevin's going to be on tonight?
at 7 p.m. Yep.
Is he actually going to have a show?
Yeah, it's on IBM TV. Yep.
Really? Tonight, 7 o'clock? Okay. Is Larry the Cable Guy going to join him?
No, this is Larry's going to join us.
I know that. See, I want to
Kim,
stick with Kevin. About
Kim,
that.
I've got a question for Willie because you actually just raised an interesting question. So I've got a question for Willie, and I'll make Nick's bad. Make me question him. But Willie, you're up there in Australia, and folks don't want to. The United States was a penal colony as well. It was a penal colony. They were set up as a penal colony for London. So was Australia. What is y'all's penal system like? Because we know our penal system sucks. So what is the penal system like in Australia? Is it as class-based? Is it as horrible as the United States penal system? Because like I said, both of us were set up as penal colonies from me.
I can't. Did you
What
I
is
got it.
the prison
I got
system
it.
like in Australia?
Oh, Willie knows what those are.
Willie would know. Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us, Willie.
That's what I was asking, Willie.
Yeah, it's not as strict as the US. It's like it's graduated from the penal colony. We've made the transition from that to like being farmers, which was sort of the next step when they came over. And then from there into the Industrial Revolution. It's not that strict, it's not that bad. Yeah. One of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of people have a hard time. The only thing I can see is sometimes it's racially biased, like especially with coronavirus. You can see it's rearing its ugly head. Yeah. These are some of the things that I've kind of noticed that kind of stood out.
Thank you.
That's okay. You're welcome. One of the things I'm looking here, I don't know if this has happened. You know, these people that are protesting, I'm going to ask a question. Is that protesting or is that corona fatigue? Corona fatigue, as in, you know, you can get ad fatigue.
I
You
think
see one ad too many
that's a good
times.
way of describing it as corona fatigue. I think a lot of it is frustration at losing and not having the income that they usually would have. There is probably maybe some racism that is involved with it, but a lot of it is definitely corona fatigue, where folks are frustrated because they've not been able to get the economy that they are used to, their personal economy. But I mean, this is a worldwide pandemic, and you have to adjust. And I think some people are not as good at adjusting as others, and things of that nature. So I think that that's what's happened, is that a lot of these people that are protesting are frustrated. I mean, a lot of folks. I'm not going to say where. I did tell Kim where when she was off my shoulder. I'm not going to say where now. But, you know, a lot of folks I had the big rough beard earlier, so I did sneak a haircut in from somewhere. And a lot of folks were not able to do that, and they've gotten frustrated with that. I know some friends of mine that have had family members cut their hair or do other things. So there have been ways that people have gotten around it, but some of that fatigue is also personal fatigue, meaning that they've gotten used to certain things that they want to do all the time, whether that's going to a club, whether that's going to a concert, whether that's going to a movie theater, whether that's getting their basic needs like their hair, their nails, their ladies, and other things done on a regular basis, even getting their eyeglasses checked and things of that nature. So a lot of that has been restricted because of the fact that we're in the lockdown. So I think that folks are getting frustrated by that. But I am seeing more people going out, like out and about, some wearing the mask like they should, quite a few not wearing the mask, and then just getting out and about in terms of like trying to get out while still enjoying this, while still having the 6 foot, or in some cases maybe even 8 foot of separation. So I think that that's part of the frustration. And then there are also people that are frustrated because, in my mind, because they're not able to do things that they usually would do. I mean, I had a friend of mine who, his wife passed away not that long ago. And when they did the funeral, because it was in the time that this was going on, many of us could not attend. We had to watch it online, or and there was restrictive amounts of how many people could be there and everything. So that's a very much the passing on of somebody is also very much a social thing that goes on in all societies. So I think folks are having to adapt in a lot of ways that they're not used to adapting.
Yep.
Well,
No, I just brought up this topic because I saw I worked in a food and fragrance place, and this girl, one of the girls in the fragrance, used to test, and she'd be walking around with this test thing, and she said one of the things that happen is we get nose fatigue, like you smell it too much, where you lose the sense of smell. Right. And I said, okay, then I sort of just thought of coronavirus, and fatigue came up, and I said, is what's happening when people protest? Is that coronavirus fatigue, or is it protest on its own? And just a thought that sort of went through my mind when I thought
so
that.
the other problem, I don't know that it's just related to COVID fatigue, but we're spoiled rotten in the United States, and we lean far too heavy with our self-entitled liberty, freedom, and we forget that liberty comes with sacrifices. But even the Constitution and our laws were written many years ago that there are no more liberty rights if there is a situation such as a pandemic. They did institute laws like that. Actually, if you read our Constitution, so truly these people have forgotten the basis of their education in the United States and the basis of the humbleness that we need to become when something like this happens. And I do not want to go on spotlight when I get on my soapbox here, but but I do want to say that to answer and add to Mark's thing is that I think people got sick and tired of being at home for too long. I think that people have forgotten what we need to be real Americans. And that's become respectful for each other. But nobody has that. I mean, I sat back and I listened to people on Sunday go, I'm not wearing a mask. Trump doesn't wear a mask. Why should I? Oh, Kim, get off your high horse. In Hong Kong, they fine people for not wearing a mask. They don't fine us here. So there must really not be a problem because they don't enforce the policy. And I'm like, you know what? It's not that it's to be enforced. It's that you've lost total respect for all humanity. Because what if I am the kind of person who can get sick? Okay, yeah, I'm going to wear my mask, but why wouldn't you? Well, because you're wearing your mask, so why should I? It was just a total lack of respect that we have lost in our country that I I am really jealous of in these other countries that we speak with on our show. I'm heartbroken that our country, the people here have lost that respect and humbleness that we came to this country for on our knees and fell to the earth and said, thank you, God, for giving us this country. We will not ever behave like those jerks that were treating us really bad. But they lost that. And somewhere in some self-entitledness, some self-righteousness, the liberty that they speak of, that they march on those steps with guns, that's not liberty, people. And that is not a good protest. And David K. Johnson could not have said it any better when he brought that up on our show Monday.
I just find it ironic that these folks are protesting, and then after they protested, and it wasn't that big of a group. It was like 200, I think, is the figures I heard in the media, and protesting there in Raleigh. But not only did they protest, but then after they were done protesting, they had the audacity, and I did say audacity, to go with something complete with their military high gear and everything to get their food and everything, and wearing all this high tech equipment in terms of military equipment, and being served by, I want to say it was an African American gentleman that was sitting there. It might have been a lady, but definitely sitting there, and even like you said, using some of that entitlement to think that they had the right to just storm into a subway to get their food and everything. I mean, they paid for it, but still, that visual was a horrible visual.
Well, the thing that they forget, if they go read the laws, they have no right to protest during a time like this. If
Right.
they go read the laws, and our laws, our law enforcement should have shut them down, especially if they came in with guns. Now, granted, we have a right to bear arms, but protesting with arms is truly against the law. If they really look at it, but it's wrong. I mean, what if somebody gets out of hand and then all of a sudden all guns go off? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
they're really kind of embarrassing our country that they can't. But let me ask you this. Don't you think that I would have respected them a whole lot more if they would have gotten off their lazy butts and gone to the front line and helped the hospital, or drove up to New York if they don't really believe there's a problem, help dispose of the bodies that are dying that have no place to dispose? I think I would respect the protesters just a little bit more if they did that. But
I would definitely respect them more if they had actually gone into, like you said, gone into the front lines, and they didn't even have to go that far. They could have gone into the front lines of the protest in Raleigh. Wake Med has had cases. They could have gone to the front lines of Wake Med. They could have gone to the front lines here around the Duke Hospital and Durham Regional and a lot of places. So yeah, I would have had much more respect for them if they had done that. I did have a friend that had an interesting question, and you're more of a legal expert than I am, Kim. So I wonder what you think of this. But a friend of mine, and he's going to get in touch with you because he's also the funk musician. But he's wondering, we see these people walking around without the mask. And yes, there's the rules that you're supposed to wear the mask if you're out in public, but it's not really being overly enforced. So he was wondering, should that be more enforced? And can it legally be more enforced? Right now, it's a suggested thing to wear the mask when you go out. I mean, highly suggested, but still suggested. It's not demanded. So do you, from a legal standpoint, think that we can get to the point where if things got worse, and like I said, hopefully they won't, but if things got worse, it could legally mandate wearing the mask?
Well, I think it should, because the data shows proof that by wearing the mask and doing proper disciplines, it is decreasing the increase of the infectious rates. We saw where Hong Kong let their guard down. What happened? They had flare-ups. In this situation, again, everybody's going to scream, my constitutional rights, my constitutional rights. You have none to begin with. Get over it. And just, okay, what do I say when people start crying privacy rights? Stop whining. Get over it. You've had no privacy rights for many years because of this. So, the thing is just be respectful. Treat people the way you would want to be respected. What happened to just humanity? Okay, get over yourselves. You're not all of that. You're not everything. This earth isn't about you. And this is what Earth is telling us right now. Mother Nature is saying, screw you guys. I'm taking it back. Seriously.
Yep. No, I definitely think that that's what the Earth is doing, telling the world that it's taking it back and reclaiming it. And, this is just one of them novel little things that people forget. But I'm sure you'll get a kick out of it. The rest of the world, this will get a kick out of it as well. But I've got a good friend that's a poet. And one of his poems is revolving around what the Constitution is actually written on. And I don't know. Do you know what the Constitution is actually written on, Kim?
A piece of cloth.
Not just paper. What kind of paper is it written on?
I forget. It's
It's written on. I said it's written on him.
Oh yeah, him. Yeah, there it was. Yeah, and you know what? I should have known that because
Yeah, the same thing as marijuana. It's written on the same thing.
Wednesday guy and I, we talked about that before. You know, the thing is that the laws are not written. Again, this is what I tell people: the laws are not written to really be enforced. They are written so that a judge can interpret them the way he wishes to interpret them when he's reading them. If you go look and read the laws, my first class in law, I didn't study in any school. This is School of Hard Knocks. Reading the laws, you read the words may, can, will, okay? No definitive, all right? Precedence is what establishes what can be enforced, all right? So when they set precedences in law based on certain ways that they made judgments, that, you know, can be reinforced again and again. But then sometimes the judge go, you know what? I just want to change it up a little bit. That doesn't exactly fit the can, may, will, you know, maybe. So this is what I tell people, that there is no justice system in the United States. It isn't. There's not a word called justice. It's a compromise in most cases. Mostly,
well, it's one that comes from a society. It comes personally from, I would argue, too, and you know, basically much. I've got a little picture of everything that identifies African American, but also have some Native American roots. So we know that two of those groups that I just mentioned definitely have seen non-justice throughout history. I mean, the land was stolen, the Indians or the natives, and the African Americans came here as slaves. Since we came here, but I mean, we were brought in shackles.
Yeah, and you know, the Native American Indians got shafted so bad. Like, you know, but the thing is that the laws, again, are not written for the benefit of common man. They are established for the top 1%. That's who makes the laws. The Constitution was intended for the common man, but, you know, the rich men are who run the show. So we just, if we're going to make any changes, we're going to have to change our leaderships, period. We're going to have to get in place and make the right changes. And this is what I tell people: stop voting for the billionaires. That our primaries and our campaigning, they're not designed for a common man to even become president. But,
well, that's the question I had for you, Kim. You raised it actually on the podcast and in our chat back and forth. And I heard what you said about Mr. Our guest on the podcast, and some how you were afraid of some of what he was saying. But my question for you is: do you think that we can ever have a third-party candidate? I mean, I was a fan of Lenora Fulani when she ran. I was a fan of a number of other candidates that ran as third-party candidates, including some that I look at now, like the Green Party and others. I mean, I just look at them. I usually wind up voting Democratic. But I'm just wondering: do you think that there can ever be a true third-party viable candidate? I mean, a lot of the other countries around the world have multiple candidates. I don't know how many y'all have been Malaysia. I don't know how many. I think there's tons in India from what I've read. I mean, there's like various parties, and I want to say the same for other parts of the world where we see that the system can't work where you have more than two parties. But we've been stuck on stupid or stuck on two parties for a while. So I'm just wondering, as one that studies the world, looks at the world, what is your thought as to whether we can actually ever get to a viable third party?
You just answered your own question. You know, we've had them. We've had some brilliant people. And during the last campaign, all I heard was everyone saying, well, I can't vote for Hillary. There's no way in the world I'm going to vote a woman in the office, or I hate Hillary, so it's got to be Trump. There was a third person, but you yourself said you're always going to go Democrat. Why? So see, until people with the mindset that you just established change, no, absolutely not. We will never have a human in office until people with your same mindset. See, I voted a third party. I did. I voted the third. There was a third
No, but
that ran. And
Kim, I think you have.
I had the balls, excuse me, people. I had the guts to vote for him. I had the guts to vote for the third party. There you
Well,
go.
I actually
But
did
I
some
think that
research
you have
on the
independent
other
candidates. I
three
mean,
candidates
who
and everything. And I
actually,
contemplated third party. I actually went with Hillary, and I'm not going to say that I had any regrets with going with Hillary. Actually,
I'm
thought
gonna
that
come
I
down when
was
they tell me
actually a fan of Clinton. They were in office, given that he did some stupid stuff that was his private life. I managed to
I
get
liked
past
Hillary.
that. Yeah.
I liked Hillary. I did.
Yeah.
I
And
liked
that's why
Hillary,
he voted.
but I want to get rid of both parties. I don't like either one. They've been around 200 years. What have they gotten us?
Yes.
Where-
Mark,
I have few issues. I just want to know one thing, Ma'am Kimberly. Basically, my research area based on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Yes, yes. Thank you. Basically, I'm doing PhD on glass ceiling factors. So when a woman, they are just taking the top position, a state or a, like example, a university or a corporations, what type of barrier they're facing. I have my publication, research publication. I will share with you. I will email you. But my issue is that, like example, we think like, okay, I'm doing research on Malaysian market, especially for glass ceiling factors, women empowerment, like their political issues, their social empowerment, their family environment, their engagement with the organizations. But I just want to understand the US cultures, even like example, education wise, even culture wise, as well as women empowerment and all of the issues. We still believe USA is in top positions. But why that this kind of issue is come, like Hillary Clinton is a woman, that's why we will not vote for her. But basically, it's a very weird, like a woman,
no.
she can.
Well, you just actually might have, like you said, be answered my own question. So the way you framed it may have answered your own. Because definitely, if you look at, and I'm not counting because she's a woman on the panel, but the interesting thing is that there are certain things that we allow women in our society, I mean, the United States, to go for, including even in the corporate America. There's tons of corporate presidents that are women and done great jobs, everything of that nature. But and even certain positions within the House and the Senate and things along that line. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is an amazing lady as well as some others. But we have a very much of a stuck-up stereotype role that women can't run a country, even though they can run a whole corporation, even though we have facts that they can run entire other countries, because there's great leaders throughout the world that are women leaders and have been women leaders for decades, if not centuries. And we've seen proof of that. But for some reason, there's this mentality that it's got to be the next George Washington, the next Abraham Lincoln, the next Winston Churchill, the next JFK. I was naming 4 of our legends in terms of presidents and everything. But it's got to be the next one of those. That there might be something. So the next Reagan for those that are more on the Republican side and think that he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I actually was not one of those, but there are those that thought that. But there's this thought that women, because of and it's gender bias, serious gender bias. There's gender bias on a lot of things in our society. I would argue that the 2 biases that are the biggest in our population and ones we have.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Dropped again.
Sorry about that.
And we got to get hit fixed, but I will answer some of your question is that I always say it's not a glass ceiling. It's a stainless steel ceiling. I've survived. Okay, very few women do. There was research done at North Carolina State University several years ago. Over 65% to 80, between 65 to 80% of the women in computer science and engineering fields drop out before the first and second year. And that was disturbing. But I'll tell you, it's not a welcoming thing. Less than 10% of the women hold leadership roles in the U.S. And what, like Mark was talking about, there are some great women who run other countries. And what I have noticed is if you really take a look at the data, right, the countries that are ran by women, they're a lot more peaceful. Think about it. Even very peaceful. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of difference about the way a woman would run something versus the way a man, because I worked always with men. Go ahead, Ankit.
And we have examples like Germany and New Zealand. Both of the countries are running with women, and they have I mean, I can't say zero, but very few cases. And then I think they are doing good. I think Germany is still having a lot of cases, but then they are fighting it and they have a very less mortality rate. But New Zealand, I think they said that they are corona free right now.
Right. So it's a different mindset.
And it's just that in the past as well, we have discussed about how we have to do a balance between women and men. But in some countries who are underdeveloped and who are very poor countries, they are having the problems of managing with men and women. But if you talk about the intellectuals and if you talk about the countries who are educated, they believe both are equal. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, there is no point of discussing. But I believe that women are more superior than men.
We're just different. We're just different. One of the things I learned that was, I mean, you know, I'll probably never work again after this, but here we go. All right. So the difference between men and women in the United States, something that I learned in my 35 plus years of working, and I work corporate as well as I've done a lot of government contracts and bidding and things like that. But you will find less than 10% of the women in the United States have leadership roles. It's already been reported. Back when I was doing a lot of government contracts as my own independent company, Obama had came out with a law that said that they had to increase the acceptance of female-owned companies by 20% in the bidding process. The way the men got around that, so they didn't have to hire us, is they implemented the contract bidding, the rules and criteria. And in the criteria, they said in order to get this contract, you have had to have at least 6 years of experience in this government contract. So that just obliviated any female who'd never gotten it. You know, but at that time there was very few women, if any, contracted. But I won a bid a year and a half ago for a major corporation. I was the first female in over 200 years to get a contract of its kind, and they quickly fired the gentleman who hired us. Just to explain to you.
Hey, Kim, what do you think about
just to let you know how that goes. But one more thing I want to share with you about how the different worlds work. And I'm going to put this in my next book and I don't hate working with it. I love it. I have done it my whole life. I've been the only female in almost every position I had. And, or the first one ever hired. But this was interesting to me when I started working in, and I learned the way they do budgets, men versus women. Okay. Now, men, they joke about us. We spend money, right? We go shopping. We might go buy clothes on sale or something like that. But we budget. We budget a house. We budget our meals. We budget everything. We try to not spend more than what you make, right? And maybe save. So men, this is how they run a budget. In our country. I don't know about yours, but it began in the military and then it just overflown into the corporations because they're ran by men. So this is how it works. They get a budget and have to go buy something. And then they have to make sure if they don't spend that money every year, that exact money, they won't get it the next year. That's a rule. So they're encouraged to make sure they spend that money, whether it was on the right things or not. Then if you spend just a little bit more, not too much more, but a little bit more, and the budget was approved, then guess what? Your department gets an increase in spending for the next year. If you don't spend all of your money, right? Say it's not like that excess rolls over to you next year. No, you're punished. You don't get that big budget anymore. Your budget's reduced. This is how men do things, okay, in our country. So the military started this mindset, right? The more you spend, the bigger budget you get next year, all right? It had nothing to do with about saving, spending better. So then they got this idea in this bidding system. And this is true, and I think even Dr. You found the same thing one time because I heard him talking about it. The military will literally spend $1,000 a bolt in the bidding system, right? You know, one time I even saw it. They were bidding, you know, we need 5 bolts for whatever. And I'm like, can you not just go down to Home Depot and get it? No, we have to bid on it. And it depends on what kind of budget they're trying to spend, whether they want to spend more or less or who they're going to buy it from, right? So the whole idealism of how that works. So no, the women don't succeed in the men's world because our mindset wasn't set for that. When if I were running a department, to me, it would be about how much money I could save this year. Maybe I'll have extra for next year. And that's not what would happen. You would be punished for not spending that exact amount or maybe more. And then the men, something I learned about them, they would just buy anything. It didn't matter what it was, just as long as they met that budget, even if it was wasting money, spending millions of dollars to then get that bigger budget next year. And yes, I've ratted all you out. That's how you ran most of the corporations down into the ground. That's how it works.
And Kim, same thing happened with startup world as well. I mean, people, VCs, they said that you have to spend this much amount of money, and if we have returns, then you will get more money. And that's what startups do. They are talking about valuation. They never talk about what are the profits and losses. Because if you check most of the startups, I can talk about India and maybe some global startups. If you check the balance sheet, they are in losses, and they're in big losses. And why? Because they're talking about valuation. They're not talking about profit or company. Because and how valuation works, they think that if you have a US market, you have this much amount of valuation. If you have a market in India, you have this much amount of valuation. But most of the money is going in the pocket of those people, founders, and people who are working for startup, and they're getting equal payment as the corporate does. So they get equal amount of payment, and still they consider startup. So I think, as military and other things are concerned, we are not re-evaluating our accounting system and also the finances. We are talking about a lot of rebooting things in the medical industry, in the environmental things like that. But we are not talking about how we can reboot our expenses, especially in the corporate and the financial world, because we are following the same pattern since long. And that is why I think we are wasting a lot of money.
No, and I'm going to tell you too. I built my very first company. My dad and I kind of did it together, but I did most of the work. It was my expertise and my background. But he was a great partner. But when he was gone, I went to raise some money, and I ran it very successfully, right? And the few people that I went to, that banking, mostly banks, but they do venture capital at the time, would tell me to put a man as my CEO. Now, I built that company. I ran that company. I got the licenses. I went to the courthouses, and I went to all the hearings. I got the PUC licenses in 5 states. Not a man. I beat 5 attorneys from Bell South and beat them into the ground. Not a man, not an attorney. I had the PUC board come down from the stands and shake my hand. Not a man. So I was a little upset over that. Now, this was a while back, okay, but I don't think that's changed much. I still see a gender variance for women in getting venture capital. Men, again, they spend money differently, they budget money differently, and they see it differently. And it doesn't mean that they're better, and it doesn't mean the woman is better. What I say is just do it like The Voice. Do your spreadsheet, right? And look at the numbers. If the numbers work, then so be it. Be like The Voice TV show, where you really don't see the person, whether they're male or female, whatever color, none of that. Look at the numbers. And this is what I tell people, because somebody who can crunch the numbers and put it together, and I know everybody says a business plan. A plan is a roadmap, right? A roadmap can pivot. And I write that in my book, right? It's nothing definitive. Make sure that you plan like a Boy Scout would, and plan for a rainy day. Take your umbrella, take your raincoats, things like that. Plan to change route, right? But you got to have some sort of visual plan, and you got to have some sort of financial understanding. And that's the biggest problem most startups do not have. And I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal. People who buy my book, I'll give you a free spreadsheet. And I don't know if Ankit has seen my business model spreadsheets, but they're down. Let me tell you, they will run a full-blown